doing?
No, are you? That's it on this table?
I don't know, do you have any other options?
There's this room, the door closed.
You wanna talk a bit?
Sure.
I am extremely sure. Close is better than that. See if you work a little bit. Are you okay? So I had a chance to talk to my supervisor about the early referral, and she said no. She wanted us to review things a little bit more and to also go over some scenarios, which are like hypothetical cases that ask a whole bunch of questions about evidence and how somebody might plead and just questions about that scenario to assess the person's understanding of all elements of competency. Does that sound okay?
I wish I could have got that early evaluation.
Well, because how long have we been meeting?
A month?
Have we really been meeting for a month?
About 4 times.
Has it been that long? So I don't have our start date here. I usually do. Huh. Anyhow, let's go through this stuff, and if everything is great in all of it, then I can certainly go back to her and say, hey, we did all this stuff, okay?
Okay.
So, first of all, let's just review quickly all of the information pertinent to your case
You said you had a printout for me?
of
Some sort of my charges and.
charges. Do I not have a printout of your charges? I do not have a printout of your charges. I am so sorry. I do not know. I apologize. I don't.
Okay.
I will definitely have it next time. I did have a printer problem, but it is back up and running, so that's not any kind of excuse. I'll have, but in the meantime, there's just 3. And I think you know what they are, right?
Stalking. Walking away from a police officer when being told to stop. And not revealing my name.
Yep. And how are those charges classified?
AAB.
So.
A for stalking. A for walking away from an officer.
Yep.
B for not revealing my name.
Okay. What do they allege happened that resulted in those charges?
I was at Wiggy Wash and they called the cops on me. They said I was there every day for a week. They said I harassed a girl over the phone and changed my number when she blocked me. They said I was walking away when they told me to stop. And they said I didn't reveal my name when I was asked for it.
Okay. So, perfect. And remember, it's important to know those are allegations. It doesn't mean it's true, but that's what they allege happened, and that's what they base the charges upon. So, Class A misdemeanors and Class B. If a person in the state of Utah were to be convicted of Class A misdemeanor, what could happen to them?
Misdemeanors. A, 1 year in jail. B, 6 months in jail. C is 3 months.
Okay. And what possible penalties that a judge might impose either in addition to or instead of jail time?
Community service, a fine, treatment.
Perfect. Is there one other thing that almost always, instead of putting a person in jail, the judge puts them on?
Probation.
Perfect. How does probation work?
They're not in jail, but they have to see a probation officer to make sure, and then to make sure they're following strict rules and not breaking any more laws. Not breaking any more laws.
And what happens if a person violates probation?
They could go to jail.
Okay. In the state of Utah, there's 5 pleas that can be used in court. Can you tell me what those are and what they mean?
Guilty means you confess to the allegations and you accept the charges and the punishment. There's no contest, which means you say you didn't. You don't say you did them, but you accept the punishments, the charges, and sentence. And there's not guilty, where you go to trial to fight against the charges because you say you didn't do them. And there's guilty by mentally, it's not insane.
It's now called
G and C.
Yes. Guilty with a mental condition. And what is that one?
It means you might have to go to a mental hospital for mental treatment because you had a mental, well, what do they call it? You have a mental condition.
So think about what it's called though, because it's called guilty with a mental condition. So what are you saying about your charges?
You might have to accept the charges, but instead of putting you into jail, they might put you into a mental hospital.
Okay. So it's important with that GMC to know you're saying you did it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying that mental health, mental illness may play a role in what happened. It doesn't mean you'll go to a hospital. You might. Usually people don't because there's mental health treatment resources available in the community. So you're saying you're guilty and you will be sentenced. Part of that sentence might be time at the hospital, but it's not a guarantee. If somebody does go to the hospital, the time there is limited to 18 months, after which time they will then serve the rest of their sentence wherever they're sentenced to. So it could be prison or whatever. The last one, not guilty by reason of insanity, does it apply to your case?
First degree felons.
Okay. What is a plea bargain and how does it work?
The prosecution says they will lower the charges and the potential punishments if you agree to no contest or plead guilty. And they say, you just accept the consequences early.
Okay. So you can plead guilty or no contest, or what else?
Guilty by mental condition?
Yes. So what is it? You say that. Did you say the penalties would be lowered?
The charges would be dropped and the penalties with them.
Okay. Because if the charges are reduced, the penalties are reduced. Perfect.
The max penalty, yeah.
Do you have to take the first offer that's made to you?
No, you can take second ones, but they're not as likely to happen.
You can negotiate. There might not be another one yet. So you mentioned with a charge of not guilty, your case goes to trial. How does a trial work?
First, the prosecution brings up the charges and the testimonies and evidences against you, and then you try to disprove them with your testimony and evidences. And you take turns, and then the judge makes a verdict. Sometimes there's a jury trial. And then if you're found guilty, you're sentenced, and if you're not guilty, the charges are dropped.
Okay. Usually, if your case goes to trial and you're found guilty and you're sentenced, is your sentence usually a light sentence or is it often a harsher sentence?
Depends if you're your first time or not and how the judge sees it. sometimes he might go easy, like I've been charged lightly before because it was my first time.
Okay. And in a trial, the sentence was light? Did you plead not guilty and the case went to trial?
I think I pled no contest. I don't remember what happened.
So in a trial, usually, if you're found guilty, usually the sentence is harsher because trials take time and they cost money and there's a consequence if you're found guilty. Versus if you were to plead guilty or no contest or GMC up front, usually the penalty is harsher. At a trial, you mentioned that testimony and evidence is used by both sides. What's another example of evidence other than testimony?
Could be recording, evidence, journaling, sound recording.
Okay.
There's
Okay. What happens at a trial if you're found not guilty?
charges are dropped. That's it.
Okay. You mentioned a jury trial, which is made up of members of the community that serve on the jury. Who weighs the evidence at a bench trial?
The judge.
Perfect. So judge presides at a bench trial. What are some other responsibilities of a judge in the courtroom?
Making sure everything is reverent, respectful, and orderly.
Okay.
Supposed to hear both sides of the argument and determine if the defendant is guilty or not guilty.
At a bench trial, okay. What else? What's one of, if you plead guilty, what does the judge do?
Sentence you.
Yes, the judge is responsible for sentencing. The prosecutor's going to make a recommendation. Usually the judge follows it, but he doesn't have to. There are some things that could cause the judge to be more lenient on a person, and some things that could cause the judge to be more harsh on a person. Things that cause the judge to impose a harsher sentence are called aggravating factors. Aggravating, something makes it worse. Things that make the sentence more lenient or easier are called
mitigating.
Yes, thank you. I lost the name. Good job.
Thank you.
So, do you happen to remember what are some things that make a difference? What might cause the judge to be more harsh or more lenient?
If the crime is worse, or more times, if you have to go to trial, that would be aggravating.
Okay.
And then mitigating if it's like your first time or wasn't as serious. I'm not sure what else.
Having a job causes a judge to be more lenient. Because if somebody's working, they're productive, they're contributing to society. If somebody has housing, it causes the judge to be more lenient. Unfortunately, people that are homeless tend to get in more trouble, even if it's just trespassing or stealing food from the convenience store or camping on the street. Those are all things that are crimes. And so being homeless could cause a judge to be more harsh. Having a home causes a judge to be more lenient. The other thing, having a social support system. If we've got people around us, we're less likely to commit crimes than if we're alone in the world. And so having a support system is a positive thing in the eyes of the court. Another very positive thing in the eyes of the court, if the court suspects that mental illness is an issue, if somebody is willing to accept treatment, that's seen as a positive thing. If somebody is refusing treatment, it's often seen as an issue because people that are out in the world struggling with mental health issues sometimes commit more crimes. Anyhow, so you're familiar, it sounds like, with aggravating factors and mitigating factors, which is good. When we are let me back up. In court, what's the prosecutor trying to do?
He's trying to press the highest sentence, highest charges.
Because he doesn't like you or because it's his job?
Because it's his job.
What is a defense attorney trying to do?
He's trying to lower the sentences and fight for you because it's his job.
Is it okay to talk about your case with the prosecutor?
No, because he might take advantage of you.
Yep, he can use anything you say against you in court. Between you and your defense attorney, there exists confidentiality. What is confidentiality?
Keeping things discreet between you and your defense attorney.
Yep. Your defense attorney will only use information in court that will help your case and will not use anything that will hurt your case. Do you feel comfortable working with your attorney?
There's positives and negatives. Like in the past, they haven't fought for me, but and this one keeps calling me like incompetent and not standing up for me in court. So they're not fighting for me. So it's hard to fight to know they're on your side.
It is hard when the question of competency is raised often. However, I see that question of competency as a positive thing because the thought is that everybody wants to make sure that a person understands how court works, and they understand their rights, and that they're able to work cooperatively with their attorney to get the best outcome possible for themselves. And so those are kind of the competency criteria. The other interesting thing with competency, though, it's not just about the person that questioned it, because then there's an evaluator, and the evaluator offers their opinion. And if the evaluator thinks a person is competent, things move forward. If the evaluator has concerns and recommends that a person is not competent, then it still goes to the judge, and the judge makes the decision. So it's not just the person that asked the question in the beginning, there's other people involved that have to, along the line, agree that they think there's a question. They're not sure that whoever is being evaluated really understands and is able to make the best decisions for themselves. But I certainly agree with your concern that, well, my attorney asked this question, he raised the question, how can he be helping me? Well, the thought is that competency is supposed to help people get ready for court and get ready to make those tough decisions that, the choices you have to make.
Well, I brought up evidences for me that I was competent. Like I won a previous court case. The judge is like, "No, you're still incompetent. We're forcing on you a defense attorney against your will, and we're calling you incompetent for no reason."
Well, the reasons are what the doctor brought up in the evaluation.
But I didn't bring up those reasons during court.
No.
I just called out the judge, and she's it's like you said, she gets to make the decision.
Yes. Do we get to call out the judge?
Can we escalate things and bring it to a higher judge?
No.
It doesn't seem fair. The judge needs to have some judgment over him or her.
You bring up kind of the heart of the matter. Often the legal process is not fair, and competency restoration is an effort to make it more fair. Not completely fair, but more fair than it is, because often it's not fair. There are a lot of issues with the system, and those people, I don't think the judge would say it's perfect. I don't think the attorneys would say it's perfect, and yet it's what we have now. It's better than what they have in some other countries. It's probably not as good as what they might have in other countries.
Then what's this about the legislative system, the executive system, and the judicial system? They're supposed to be keeping balance and all that, Supreme Court, and all that other stuff I learned in government that you're saying doesn't apply.
Are there governments that are better than ours? Yep. Are there governments that are worse than ours? All a lot worse. And so this is what we have. Is it changing all the time? Yep. Are there efforts to improve it? You bet. I think there are good people in the world that are trying to improve things all the time. Is there room for improvement? Yeah, there is. But again, this is where we're at. And there's parameters that we're supposed to work within. and we're supposed to understand those things. Doesn't mean we can't work to change them, but it's where we are right now.
So who overlooks this judge? Who's in charge of this judge? The Supreme Court?
As far as judges go, they are elected annually? When we vote for or against a judge, to keep them on the bench. So, I don't know, and I don't know if that's different for district court judges and justice court judges, it may be. But people vote.
Okay.
So, any questions, just not about the whole system in general, but about the information specifically that we've discussed from the competency handout? And remember, that information is just basic, and you pretty much know it. Any questions about the basic information?
No.
Okay. Are you okay if we do some of these scenarios?
Sure.
Like hypothetical situations. Okay. Let me let's try this one. This is from Jackson, Mississippi, and these are real cases, things that have happened. In Jackson, Mississippi, Swava Blair, 20 years old, of Jackson, Mississippi, was sentenced yesterday by U.S. District Judge Henry T. Wingate to 180 months in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release after having pled guilty to brandishing and possessing a firearm during a carjacking. U.S. Attorney announced this. Blair was also ordered to pay a $1,500 fine. On October 2nd, 2015, Blair went to New Stage Theater in Jackson and carjacked a victim as she opened the door to her vehicle. Blair held a gun to the victim's head and demanded that she get out of the vehicle and leave everything inside. Blair, along with the passenger, drove away in the carjacked vehicle. A week later, on October 9th, Jackson police officers patrolling the area around the Mississippi State Fairgrounds came into contact with the carjacked vehicle. The officers attempted to execute a stop on the vehicle. Instead, the driver, Swava Blair, led officers on a foot chase before eventually getting back into the carjacked vehicle and attempting to run over the officers. The officers discharged their service weapons, striking Blair in his right leg. He was taken to a nearby hospital where he was treated, apprehended, and arrested.
Sounds like there's two people, a driver and a passenger.
It does say that there was a passenger. Yep. So, in this case, who was the defendant?
Blair.
Blair. What was he charged with?
So, he was charged with carjacking, possession of a firearm and threatening someone, attempt to injure officers, running over them.
So the one charge they mentioned here, which includes a couple of those, it's kind of a longer one, brandishing and possessing a firearm during a carjacking. Got it. How serious do you think that charge would be?
A first-degree felony.
Okay. If he were to be convicted of a first-degree felony in Utah, do you happen to remember about how much, I know we haven't discussed this because your charges are misdemeanors, but first-degree felony, about how much time might a person spend in jail in Utah, or prison?
Let's see. 15 years?
Okay. Yeah. And that's kind of in the range. For a first-degree felony, the range is 5 to life, and usually 15 is about the time. Good job. Do you happen to recall from what I read, and I know this is hard because I just read stuff that you heard for the first time. Do you happen to recall what the police allege happened? What do they allege that Blair did?
Carjacking with a firearm. You want me to say like all the stuff he did?
Whatever you might recall. But yeah, carjacking with a firearm.
Um, Attempting to run over police.
Good job. Those are kind of the two high points. Also drove away and drove at a high speed, but you got the two big ones. Do you think in this case that Blair took a plea bargain? He was sentenced to 180 months in jail in order to pay a $1,500 fine. Do you think he took a plea bargain?
Yes.
What makes you say yes? That's correct.
Because the evidences are so strong against him. You got a witness testimony, got a cop's testimony, got...
So how does that make you think he took a plea deal, though?
Because they're so strong against him, he's probably going to get a huge...
Okay, so he didn't take it to trial. But how do you know he didn't just plead like no contest? How do you know he maybe got a deal?
I can tell he got a deal because the charges are so strong, he wants them to be more lenient, but I can't tell if he pled no contest or guilty.
So I'm not quite sure I'm understanding.
I can't tell which of the two he pled.
Well, it says he pled guilty to brandishing and possessing a firearm during a carjacking. But how do you know that was part of a deal?
I just deducted it because it's really strong evidences, really strong charges.
Okay. Do you think if it wasn't part of a deal, there might have been other charges against him?
Yes.
Yeah, like a lot with attempting especially to run over the office or something. Okay, good job. In this case, what do you think could be used as evidence against Blair?
The gun, fingerprints, probably body cameras, that witness of the person, the woman he stole the car from.
Perfect. So we just talked about this. From what you heard, do you think that any mitigating factors were mentioned?
Nope.
Are there any aggravating factors?
It happened twice.
It happened twice.
And they did carjacking twice or had a firearm twice. He got back in the car, maybe that's what I remember. And he started running over the police.
Attempting to run over the police.
Threatening someone's life.
Yes. Yep. And the other thing I don't think we talked about, you kind of hinted at it when you were telling me about mitigating and aggravating factors, but the other one is the use of the weapon as an aggravating factor. Okay. If you were Blair, how would you plead and why?
Probably guilty from all of the content against him for a plea bargain.
Okay. And that's the next question here. Do you think there would be enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Blair is guilty?
Yes.
Okay. The plea bargain that was offered was 180 months in prison, 5 years parole, and a fine of the $1,500. Do you think this was a fair bargain? 180 months in prison.
That's like
How many years is that?
6 years or something?
No, it's 15 years.
Oh, it's 15.
Yeah, 12 months in a year, so, and then 6 more, 61. So yeah, that's 15 years in prison, 5 years parole, and a fine of $1,500.
Yeah, 15.
You think that was a fair bargain? Why or why not?
Yes, you shouldn't be allowed on the streets with all of those crimes.
If you were the prosecutor in that case, would you have offered anything different?
Maybe would have upped the, not the charge, but the sentencing 5 years at least.
Okay. If you were Blair, would you have taken the bargain, or would you have taken your case to court, to trial?
Probably would have taken it, not the trial. Would have taken the deal.
Okay. All right. This is, here's another one. Good job. You got that one. Well, I don't know about that one. I don't necessarily love that one. Let's go back. This is a even more serious case. A Bloomington man accused of taking part in a November 2016 armed robbery at a Bloomington home faces a bench trial Tuesday on attempted murder charges. Alfred Walker, 40, is accused of attempted murder, home invasion, armed robbery, and aggravated battery with a firearm in the November 2016 incident that left a man with a gunshot wound and a woman locked in the trunk of her car. A couple who live in the 1500 block of Julie Drive told police that the terrorizing incident began with a man posing as a pizza delivery man coming to their door. When the woman attempted to turn the unordered delivery food away, the suspect and two others pushed their way into the home, according to police. Walker allegedly ordered the woman at gunpoint to call her husband to come home. Authorities said the victim was restrained with duct tape and forced into the trunk of her car in the garage while her home was ransacked by the suspects looking for money. The woman told officers she heard 3 gunshots while she was held in her car. At one point, the woman heard her husband yell that he'd been shot, and a prosecutor's statement read at Walker's bond hearing said a prosecutor's statement read at Walker's bond hearing following his arrest. No other suspects have been arrested. When police arrived, they found the husband with a gunshot wound to his leg and lacerations from being repeatedly struck. When the suspects fled the home, they left behind a box with a partially eaten pizza inside. Surveillance video showed Walker entering a convenience store on Morsey Drive and exiting with a pizza before the incident, said the prosecutor's statement. Walker has been jailed in lieu of $100,000 since his arrest. So, in this case, who was the defendant?
Walker, I believe his name is.
Yep. What was he charged with?
Probably breaking and entering into a home, possession of a firearm, with malicious intent, shooting someone, burglary, so trespassing.
Yep. All those things. Encompassing, they said, and this is in a different state. So attempted murder, home invasion, armed robbery, aggravated battery with a firearm. In Utah, how serious do you think those charges would be?
First-degree felony.
Yep. What evidence could be used against Walker if he chooses to take his case to trial?
The testimonies of the wife and husband.
Okay.
If there was any, what's it called, cameras,
Okay.
house cameras,
Yep. Video. Okay.
fingerprints, the gun.
Okay. What else?
Not sure.
Would the car in which the woman was held, could that be used?
I heard it was our own car because it was in the garage.
It was her own car.
Oh, Then why would that be used if it's her own car?
Because she was put in the trunk and held there.
But how would be used as testimony against them? Just, I know if it was used as their own car, and she could identify it. So what's the difference between using her car and their own car?
It's not a matter of ownership, it's a matter of where she was held hostage.
Oh, so how she fits in there? Okay, so if she fits in there, then that's testimony against her.
Not if she fits in it, but the fact that she was held there. They say that.
And they found her?
Yeah.
Oh, they found her in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had to set her free. The duct tape on her, the car, the ransacked house, the damage they did to the house. They fired 3 bullets, and medical reports from the gunshot wound to the husband. They say even the partially eaten pizza. Were there any mitigating factors in this case that were listed?
Nope.
Were there any aggravating factors?
Threatening someone's life, shooting a gun at them,
Yep.
terrorizing and threatening them to get the husband to come home. Why did they want the husband to come home? I don't think they thought through this very clearly.
Yes, that could be true. If he pled not guilty and lost at trial, how much time do you think he might serve if he were to be convicted?
5 to life. So 15 maybe for all of those. Let's see. 15 for burglarizing, 15 for the gunshot, and not kidnapping, but hostaging. I thought it's probably another 5, so it's probably 35 years.
Could be a long time. Yes, good job. Not a little bit of time, but certainly a much longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think would be a fair plea bargain in this case? What might be? So they charged him with 4 things: attempted murder, home invasion, armed robbery, and aggravated battery with a firearm.
That sounds like at least 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the plea deal was 15.
Okay.
That sounds like a good deal.
So how would that come about, though?
You mean how the prosecutor presented?
Well,
right.
so the judge decides the sentence, though.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got these 4 charges that theoretically could have all been first-degree felonies.
Mm-hmm.
So what would a deal be involving like 4 first-degree felony charges?
Probably drop it down to 2 or 3.
Okay, so something might be dismissed, or a couple things might be dismissed, which would lessen the possible time of the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Possible time of the whole sentencing.
If Mr. Walker was offered a deal that hypothetically dismissed 2 of his 4 first-degree felony charges, do you think he should take it or not?
I think you should take it.
Okay. Do you think there was sufficient evidence against Walker to convict him?
Yes.
And what was some of that evidence?
The bullet hole in the leg, the
Okay.
wife in the car and duct taped,
Okay.
3 bullet holes. Let's see. Or the 3 bullets, the 2 other holes.
Mm-hmm.
Their testimonies.
Yes. Okay. Good job. That was a really good job. Alright, we have time for one more.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah, it's only 1:40.
Oh, cool, okay. That didn't even come on. Alright. Let me. That one. Okay. An Albuquerque man arrested following an arson fire inside an Old Navy store in November 2016 has pled guilty in that incident and a string of others involving fires and acts of vandalism. Prosecutors said Wednesday that David Hickman, 28, entered this plea to 5 arson counts, but acknowledged his plea agreement to igniting a total of 9 businesses last November. The U.S. Attorney's Office said the plea agreement includes a recommendation that Hickman be sentenced to a prison term of 5 to 20 years. And this is just in New Mexico. His sentencing has yet to be scheduled. A series of arsons in Albuquerque almost a year ago not only endangered the lives of firefighters and other innocent people, but also jeopardized the paychecks of numerous hardworking employees at the damaged businesses. Special Agent in Charge Terry Wade of the FBI's Albuquerque Division said in a statement, Hickman has been in federal custody since his arrest. He was taken into custody near the Old Navy store after a police officer responding to a report of small explosions saw him running in and out of the store, which was on fire. Hickman was found wearing a holster with a handgun and had a flare in his belt. In his vehicle, officers found an assault rifle, glass jar devices, tape, ammunition, kerosene, and explosive material called tannerite and motor oil. They also found similar materials, including firecrackers, inside his residence while executing a search warrant. The plea agreement does not offer any details as to Hickman's motive, but it describes in detail his actions, starting with the incident at the Old Navy where he admitted to using an assault rifle to shatter the windows of the store. Wearing dark clothes and a mask, he said in the court document that he had a handgun and several devices he had made in order to start the fire. The devices consisted of glass jars filled with flammable liquid. Rope taped to the jars acted as a handle. The other locations Hickman admitted to damaging included a condominium and a retail business complex that was under construction, 4 Starbucks coffee shops, and a Barnes and Noble bookstore, and a document shredding business. In most cases, Hickman said in the plea agreement that he shot the windows to gain access to the businesses. Who is the defendant in this case?
David Hickman.
What was he charged with?
Breaking and entering, destruction of property.
So, and this is because I read a whole bunch. Not so much what he should be charged with, but what, do you remember from the beginning what the charges were that they pressed? There was 9, but they were all the same.
Burning places.
Arson, yeah. So it's interesting because you're doing really good at picking up, well, he could have been charged with this, this, and this, and this, or maybe should have been charged with all these things. Okay. Suppose this happened in Utah, how serious do you think David's charges would be?
Felony B.
Yeah, secondary felony. Now, as you mentioned, there could have been other potential charges. Do you think any of those could have possibly been first-degree felonies?
Yes.
Okay, good job. What is the evidence that you heard mentioned against David.
His testimony, he pled guilty. He said he'd have his own jars and ropes and guns, so maybe those could be used against him if there's any evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Probably find the bullets for shooting down those windows. Maybe there's cameras to the buildings that could have been recorded.
Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing in this case also is he was taken into custody near the old Navy store after a police officer responding to a report of small explosives saw him running in and out of the store, which was on fire.
Okay, so the police officer saw him too. Maybe you could identify him because he said he's wearing a black mask.
Yeah.
Couldn't really identify him except for height.
Well, if he took him into custody right there, they would have removed the mask.
Oh, okay.
It says, so the police officer was a witness. And you did a good job. You answered another question here. It says, what evidence could be used against David that is not mentioned in this article? As you said, video surveillance of other locations or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Any mitigating factors mentioned in this article?
It doesn't sound like he threatened anyone. He could have, but there's a security guard watching overnight or someone in the store.
Okay.
But it doesn't sound like there's anyone, so that would be a mitigating factor. He didn't harm anyone.
Are there any aggravating factors mentioned?
Yeah. He did it multiple times.
Exactly.
Destroyed other people's property, not able to repay them.
Yep.
He doesn't even say he was burglarizing, he just burned the whole place down. Destroyed it.
Okay. What did he break the windows with? Do you remember hearing that?
Yeah, the gun.
Having the gun, use of a weapon. Okay. And they also add endangering people's lives. Considering the evidence against David, if you were the defendant, or David in this case, his first name, yeah, how would you plead and why?
Guilty, and because the officer caught him, and he's done this a bunch of times. There's evidence.
So just guilty to the 9 charges of arson?
No, plea deal.
Okay. If David decided to take his case to trial, and you were a jury member, do you think you'd find him guilty or not guilty, and why?
If you would have taken me to trial, you would have been found guilty.
So you think you'd find him guilty?
Yeah.
And why do you think you would find him guilty? If you
Just
went
those people he endangered probably witnessed him. The cop who arrested him. The cameras. He had his own testimony against him.
So all of the evidence, including his own self-disclosure.
Yeah.
Okay. Say that you're David's defense attorney. David tells you that he started the fires because God asked him to do it. What would you do next?
Probably take him under a mental evaluation, see if he needs to go to a mental hospital.
Question is competency?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. You want one more? Or is that enough for now?
I could do one more.
Okay. I don't like the designated one. Alright. A Midland man, sounds like this might be Texas, who was reported as a federal escapee, was arrested Sunday after allegedly robbing a convenience store at gunpoint. Irie James Williams, 37, was being held Monday on a first-degree felony charge of aggravated robbery after allegedly robbing a 7-Eleven store on February 28th. Bond had not been set as of Monday evening. Williams was also charged with a second-degree felony for burglary of a habitation and a third-degree felony charge of evading arrest. Police were called to a 7-Eleven on the 2100 block of West Hall Street on February 28th in regards to an aggravated robbery. 2 employees and 2 witnesses reported that a black man wearing a hoodie and a mask, armed with a gun, stole an estimated $30 in cash. Surveillance video showed that someone pointing a black handgun and hitting one employee in the head twice with a handgun when the employee had difficulty opening a second register. 2 witnesses followed the man but lost him in traffic. Police later found a vehicle matching the description of Williams's vehicle. Inside were a black handgun in a malfunction state and a wallet with identification documents for Williams. Police contacted a federal halfway house where Williams was staying. Staff said Williams had not returned since leaving earlier that morning and that he had missed his curfew, and they were starting the process of reporting him as a federal escapee. Surveillance footage at the halfway house showed Williams leaving the facility in all black clothing and carrying a black hoodie. If found guilty of a first-degree felony, Williams could face up to 99 years in prison. Williams could also face up to 20 years in prison or 10 years in prison for the second and third degree felony charges. In this case, who was the defendant?
I think he said his name was Williams.
Williams. What was he charged with in this scenario?
Three felonies, each different ranks.
Yep.
Robbery, something about sleeping in somewhere, and breaking probation, and that's not a charge, but it's one you did. Aggravated assault and robbery. So those are the 2 that I'm thinking of.
Okay. Good job. They call the aggravated robbery is what they call the grocery store. Burglary of a habitation. So having burglarized.
I sure the habitation is. I thought I was sleeping somewhere else.
Where's the house? Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay. Alright. And evading arrest. So next question you already answered, the severity of the first, second, third degree felonies.
ABC. First degree, second degree, third degree?
Yes. So felonies are first, second, third, misdemeanors are ABCs. What is the evidence against Williams? I guess they're saying he burglarized the halfway house where he was staying. But what's the evidence against him?
He's got testimonies against him. 7-Eleven has cameras. The cops' testimonies when he tried to evade.
Okay.
If the cops had body cameras, that could be used against him.
Okay.
So testimonies and cameras.
What did they find in the car? And what did he use at the 7-Eleven?
A gun.
Okay, the gun, yeah. His ID was also in the car.
Uh,
Any mitigating factors mentioned?
Sounds like he was at a halfway house. He was trying to improve, but he was leaving the probation.
Okay.
Wasn't rising on time, so
All right.
he robbed it too.
What were the aggravating factors listed that they talked about?
Use of a gun, threatening someone's life.
Yep.
Running away from police.
Yep. They also add, because he was on parole at the time of the crime, and possession of a weapon by a convicted felon, in addition to the use of the weapon and the violence. If you were the defendant in this case, Mr. Williams, how might you plead and why?
They could plead to you. So all the evidence is against Mr. Williams.
If you got a good deal and you decided to take it, how would you plead as a result of that deal?
Probably guilty. Left the ID in the car.
Okay. So he had a first degree, second degree, and third degree felony charges. What would you consider to be a reasonable plea bargain offer?
Let's see, 15, 10 plus 5. That's about 30 years, so plea bargain of 20 years would be.
Remember, the length of time is determined by the judge.
Okay.
The offer includes dismissing or reducing things. So
Okay.
first, second, third degree.
Probably drop the aggravated running away from police or evading the police.
Which
The third one at C. So we drop the C's charge.
the third degree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are pretty strong against you. You'd probably take a plea deal just for that.
Okay. If Williams pled not guilty, and if you were part of the jury, do you think you might find him guilty or not guilty?
Guilty. He probably pled guilty.
Yeah. Okay. You got these. So remind me, as we're finishing up, how in your case do you think you would plead in your case?
In my case, Remington's case,
Yes.
I'd plead, well, with all the evidence against me, it seemed like I would be a good deal to go for no contest or guilty, but I'm still fighting against my case because I have strong testimonies for me, and I have the right to do it.
Yes. What are the testimonies for you?
My own,
Saying what regarding the alleged evidence?
There's my evidence as well, but I say I didn't do
Okay, so that didn't show up at the car wash at all?
it. No, I was outside of it. I
Okay.
had been there before. Got my car washed.
All right, saying there was no use of a phone for anything?
No, I texted her somewhat. We texted as friends.
Okay,
Never as a stalker.
but potentially there's an allegation that, so there's one person saying that it was as friends, but another saying that it wasn't at friends, and apparently there's some content in evidence about what was included in the texts. So messages, multiple text messages telling her she was his wife and he wanted to get her pregnant, and mentioning other sexual conduct. So those text messages are in evidence.
That's not what my phone says.
Okay, apparently it's what her phone says.
Alright, we'll have to compare them.
Okay. So in light of that, here's what I'm hearing, and what I hear you saying is potentially you want to look at all the evidence before you make a decision.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm not, if I don't get to look at the evidence, I'm still going to make my same decision.
As a defendant, is it possible that you don't get to look at the evidence, or are you guaranteed you get to see all the evidence?
I'm not guaranteed to see all the evidence, only the judges, because it hasn't been presented in court yet.
Right, you haven't gone to court yet, but in this country, in this state, do you get to see, as your what's called discovery, do you get to see any and all evidence that might be used against you?
No.
What do you mean, no? You do.
You do?
You do.
They never shared with me this, right?
Pardon?
They never shared with me this, right?
It is a right. Here, let me Google. In the state of Utah, do you get to see any evidence against you that might be used to convict you in court? Might be too long a question. Yes, in Utah, you have the right to see the evidence against you that the prosecution intends to use to convict you in court. This process is generally referred to as discovery. Here's how it works. It talks about the prosecution's duty to disclose. And so the defense gets to request anything beyond automatically disclosed information. Yeah, and you should have known that. I'm sorry that that was somehow an oversight in the past. But yes, you get to see everything in your case. And that's the only way that anybody can make an informed decision. And here's where the line of competency comes into play. The evaluator wants to make sure, the judge wants to make sure that you're going to take a look at everything before you make your decision. It is okay. So I'm clear on how you want to plead, what you have in mind. But it is perfectly okay to say, because we've talked about the idea, keeping an open mind, being flexible in your thinking. It is okay to say, I'm not sure how I'm going to plead right now. I want to see all the evidence. Then, based on the evidence, I'm going to make my decision. Because should you see that somehow, I don't know how, she's got these texts, and somehow they are able to connect them to your phone, then what might you do in that situation?
I'd have to consider a plea bargain or something.
That is a competent man, a competent person. I'm gonna consider, I'll think about it, I will make a decision. Knowing as you do have the right to take it to trial. You do have the right to plead not guilty. But before just saying, that's what I'm gonna do, you need to let the doctor, the judge, your attorney know, I wanna see all the evidence. I wanna see every bit of it. And then I will decide after I see everything what I wanna do. I'm gonna keep an open mind because I wanna get the best outcome for myself. If they've got this stack of stuff, if they've got video that shows me talking to them as they allege, if they've got video that shows the officer telling me to stop and I turned and instead of leaving, which I said I would do, I walked towards her, I wanna see that video. I wanna see everything that they have that they plan to use against me, so I can make an informed decision to get the best outcome for myself. In this case, as in any case in the state of Utah, what would be the very best thing that could happen?
You get the charges dropped?
Everything dismissed if that happens. I've worked with a lot of different people in a lot of different cases. It's happened a handful of times. In this case, you are doing a lot of really good things for yourself. You have a job, you have a home. I think you have a support system, right?
Yeah, I also go to Toastmasters.
You're doing a whole lot of things that shows you're a contributing member of society. You're a law-abiding citizen. You are trying to do your part in the world. You're making a lot of good choices. You've got a lot of things on your side. And so the court just wants to make sure that you understand what you might need to do to get the best outcome for yourself. They don't want to see you just rush headlong and get a bad outcome without considering all the options. Okay. Last week when we talked, I had said that I didn't think I was going to have a staff meeting last week, but it was actually this week. So it's tomorrow, there's no staff meeting. We did have a staff meeting last week, which is how I could staff those things.
Okay, that makes sense.
Having an early evaluation, we have lots of options for that. And I did also mention that even if it's not an evaluation in 1 month, even having an evaluation sometime during the second month is still sooner than 3 months out, okay? So next week is the week of the 24th. I'd like to try to meet that week because the following week I'm out of town attending a wedding.
Nice.
And I won't be available. So I want to meet next week, then we'll have a week off, and then we'll meet again. I will try to have more scenarios, maybe see if I can come up with some other stuff that we can talk about. At that point, I'd like to propose again an earlier evaluation, okay?
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I'm gonna need those charges too.
Yes, I've written it down. I will have it for you. I am so sorry. Because you're welcome to have those in your hand when you meet with the doctor. You know what they are, but just to have the exact legal name, because sometimes when it's one word like stalking, it's easy. When it's more words, sometimes it's hard to remember what those things are. But you know what they mean, which is the important piece. Any other questions or concerns?
Nope.
Okay. Let me thank you, as always, for being a gentleman. Let me thank you for your patience with this process. And let me thank you for your effort in just participating, doing what you need to do, being open-minded, and willing to take the time that has been asked of us. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.